Hey everybody, I'm Brad Miller and sitting here with Jason Medford, and we are walking a spiritual path together with you today. And something that I've noticed, and if you're walking a spiritual path, you may well have noticed as well, is there seems to be some shifts. And explain what I mean by that. Um, yesterday or the day before, saw a post from someone talking about all the different technological advancements that we have. We have the ability to talk to people all around the world nearly instantaneous. You can watch us on your a little device that you hold in your hand. Jason and I can talk to each other despite being, thousands of miles away and have conversations like this and record this and share things with you that even 30 years ago would not have been the case. Right. So there's a lot of opportunities for us to connect. There's a lot of opportunities for technological advancement, if you want to call it, things that have happened. But this person in particular was kind of lamenting the fact that despite all this, despite the fact that it's so easy to reach out and talk to someone from anywhere around the world, almost, that he still felt the desire to, put his hands in some dirt, to sit around a campfire with others, to share bread, things like to have those real genuine interactions with other people and with nature. And that kind of struck me when I read that because I understand where he's coming from. Um, that's one of the reasons why that I live in wooded areas with hiking trails and trees all around me is because I want to be connected, and we can talk about that exactly, with nature. I don't want to be in a concrete jungle, where we've got skyscrapers and glass and steel and cement everywhere. I want to be someplace where I'm surrounded by nature. And so thought that might be something that we could go into here a little bit and
Yeah, and it's interesting because it aligns with a lot of different things here. So I interviewed Vinnie Tolman a little while ago, who had a near-death experience, one of the most well-documented and proven kind of near-death experience in how he went through. And as part of that, the guide that came to him while he was on the other side taught him 10 different points, right, that we talk about in the interview and is in his book. And one of them was about technology and about how not to let technology become a distraction.
Mhm.
And we've seen this, and what's interesting is Vinny's near-death experience was 20 some years ago, long before, a lot of things had come out. But his guide actually warned him. He said, there's going to be some technology coming that you need to be aware of, that you need to be concerned with, right? And he was really kind of making a reference to, I think, at least in my interpretation, the explosion of cell phones, in that we're not just carrying phones with us now, we're carrying little computers with us everywhere,
Yep.
and also the rise of social media. Because when we focus so much on the creation of man, if you will, technology, we distance ourselves from the creations of the universe. And what ends up happening is technology tends to be a distraction that draws us away from actually connecting with our true self and connecting with the universe. Why? Because we're connected to our damn phone all the time, right?
Yep.
If you watch people and how they interact, they're walking around, talking on the phone, or swiping social media, or doing something, right? The minute
Mhm.
somebody finishes something and they're like, oh, I'm bored, they pick up their phone, they start scrolling. And how
Yep.
many people watch TV while they're checking social media? You know, I mean, you're so distracted at that point that how can you connect with yourself? How can you allow the messages from the universe to come through? You can't because you're distracted, right? Now, I'm not saying don't use technology. I use technology every day. We're using it right now on Zoom, recording this. I do work on it. I have a phone, but I use technology as a tool, not as a lifestyle. And, so this is where it does distract from your spiritual growth, and it's on purpose. It's on purpose. These things are put in front of people so they don't connect with the universe, so they don't grow spiritually, right? Because they don't want people to do that. There's certain beings that don't want us to evolve spiritually. And those are some of the ways in which we do it, right? And so for me, I purposely I don't do social media on my phone. I pretty much only do LinkedIn now. I haven't been on Facebook in months. I don't plan on being on there. I use Substack, but I don't scroll Substack. All I do is put content on Substack. I don't scroll through. Even on LinkedIn, I do what I need to for business. I'm on, I'm off. I only do it on my computer. I only do it during working hours, right? Because I have chosen to do that because I can see how it distracts me, from what I need to be doing. It's better for me to be sitting on my porch looking at my trees and connecting to my trees and plants and thinking about, sending love and light to other people in the world. That's a better use of my time than sitting there on Facebook and going, "Oh, that guy's a jerk. Oh my gosh, I can't believe what's going on. Oh, 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 this is horrible. Oh, 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 oh," right? Um, all over. I watch TV, right? I watch movies, but I watch them with a particular purpose and intent, right? Yeah, to be entertained, but I don't do it to get vegged out. Do you know why I do it? To remind me of who I really am, to pick up on clues, right? To remind me of me and of messages from the universe because they come through things like movies and music. I mean, I think we've talked about that before. I mean, I've talked about that for years, about how a lot of times the guidance comes to me in musical lyrics. Um, and that's still technology. But are you using it as a tool with intent, or are you just mind numbing with it? Because if you're
Mhm.
mind numbing with it, right, you're distancing yourself from the universe and from everything else.
Yeah. I mean, if you want an example of just to the extent that things have gotten, go to a restaurant and look around at and people sitting at the tables. No one is having conversations. No one is talking. The idea of a family dinner where everyone would sit around the table and they talk about how was your day today? Oh, that was great. How about yours? And then they go around and talk about what they did that day and how school was or what they did at work. It doesn't happen anymore because now everybody is head down in the phone. Like you said, we're scrolling stuff or we're texting or we're doing other things. Um, and so we're not, we're losing that connection that we had with our families, with the people around us, our friends, um, obviously ourselves. Like you said, we're rather than sit there and connect with the trees or watch the winged ones flying around, we are head down in our phones, you know, whether
And
it's
I think
social media
there's
or
a
whatever. But,
yeah, like you said, but consciousness is changing. The collective consciousness is changing.
mhm,
And some people are just getting sucked more and more into technology and they're becoming
yeah,
zombies, right? They're They're more connected than ever before, but they feel more isolated and alone than
Hmm.
ever before,
That's right.
right? And there's a group of people that that's the way they're going to go, right? And again, that's their path, that's their choice, right? But there's also a lot of people like me, I think like Brad, like this person on social media that you were referring to, that, want to have that connection to something else, to something higher, to something deeper. And so you're seeing, in a trend, more and more people waking up kind of spiritually, more people interested in new age, in, spirituality in general than there were 30 years ago, right? Then definitely than there was 100 years ago. But you're also, I think, starting to see people who are consciously making different choices about what they choose to eat, right? Cleaner,
Hmm.
more organic, more fresh, more, raw, things that are getting them back closer to the earth in the supply chain. You're seeing people who are, growing gardens and flowers again, right? That I was taught growing up. I mean, my parents were Depression era babies, and I come from a line of farmers. So it made a lot of sense that in my family,
Hmm.
even though, we were doing different kinds of work, that we would still have gardens. Why? Because honestly, that's how my family ate. We didn't have a lot of money. And without that garden, we would have starved, right? And so there was a practical side of it, but there's also nothing like the connection and the satisfaction of putting your hands in the dirt, doing things, and watching plants grow, tending for them, then eating, the fruit of your labors or the vegetables of your labor, whatever they may
Depending on what you're
be,
making, yeah, or growing.
whatever
Yeah.
they may be, right? But, and so I think, again, there's a lot of people now who are seeing and going the other way. So I don't want to just talk about all the bad,
Right.
right? Because there's a lot of people that want to break out, but I think one of the
Hmm.
biggest ways to break out is drop the technology or set specific boundaries around it
Hmm.
and actually spend time with other human beings, spend time with other sentient beings, whatever they may be, trees, plants, rocks, dirt, winged ones, your dog, a cat, whatever.
True.
That's another thing too. Post pandemic, a lot more people have dogs and animals than they did before. I
Yeah.
don't think
Yeah.
that,
People during the
that
pandemic,
that's
particularly, they felt the isolation. And so they got
they got a
dogs during the
pet,
pandemic. Pandemic pets is what they were calling them.
and that's not a coincidence. That's
Right.
that's also a change in level of consciousness. And pandemic, which it was, a lot of people, light and dark work together. And that's an example of how that particular event, the shutdown, the lockdown, the freedoms and liberties that were taken away during the period, it also activated a lot of people consciously.
Mhm.
And it made people um, who were ready or who wanted to change their level of consciousness. And I think we've continued to see that growing and growing now for the last 5 years. And it's only going to get faster now because there's a lot of
Mhm.
things that are happening cosmically that's going to continue to open it up to higher and higher levels of consciousness of the collective. Not
Mhm.
everybody, but it
Right.
doesn't take everybody, right, to raise the consciousness of the collective.
Yeah, I think I read something that like to make like a change, you need like 5% of the people. And once you hit the 5%, you get like a tipping point sort of deal. And
It's even only down to 1%.
is it now? The
Yeah,
saying, yeah.
yeah, and so 1 to 5% doesn't matter,
Single
right?
digits, very yeah, low,
It's
very
single
small.
digits, very low. But that's the thing, and that's why again, on the spiritual path, a lot of the really valuable work is the not doing. It's each of
Mm-hmm.
us raising our vibration and frequency. It's each of us raising our consciousness levels because only a few of us is all it takes to help raise the collective consciousness levels. And again, people are still going to choose to do what they want to do. If they want to be zombies stuck in their anger and fear and technology, that's okay, right? But more and more people, right, will start resonating with these higher levels of consciousness. And we're going to continue to see it. But it's up to each of us to do the work for ourselves
Mm-hmm.
because it not only benefits us, but it benefits everyone else around us. But it means, taking some time every day to do some practices or exercises. It means interacting with other human beings. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, I mean, again, I think, for Brad and I, this is one of our favorite times of the week
Mm-hmm.
because honestly, we work from home. I don't have a lot of friends or family that I'm talking to, and so this is an opportunity for the two of
Mm-hmm.
us to actually connect and talk together, even though it's over technology.
Right. Said use as a tool.
It's a tool that we're using for us to be able to connect, for us to be able to record something that hopefully will be of value to people that are listening, to
Mm-hmm.
put out there. But it's the tool. It's
Mm-hmm.
not what's actually going on, right? I mean, we knew each other before, but our friendship and connection is totally different after
Mm-hmm.
these last 2 years of us starting this than it was before. Why?
Yep.
Because we took the time to actually do something.
Right.
It doesn't
Yep.
take a lot of time. It doesn't take a lot of time to do anything. I think that's why some people kind of get frustrated or think, oh my gosh, I don't have 4 hours to meditate every day. Well, you shouldn't be meditating for 4 hours a day. There's other things you can do. Yeah, meditate for a few minutes, meditate for half an hour. That's probably enough. Go do some other stuff. Go stick your hands in the dirt for 5 minutes. Walk around the grass barefoot. Send a text to somebody that says, I love you. I was thinking about you.
Mm-hmm.
Sit and just visualize world peace and sending love to the leaders of the world who are being whatever adjectives you want to use, right? To encourage them to see the light and to make decisions that are in the best interest for our world, to bring peace and love, around the world. Those things is way more important than scrolling social media.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
it doesn't take very much time. I will tell
Mm-hmm.
you that a lot of people feel maybe a little self-righteous, maybe a little um, activistic, if you will. Oh, that person's, they're wrong. I'm going to tell them they're right. And they get caught into these arguments on social media in the comments, going back and forth, trying to convince each other that I'm right, you're wrong. That's wasted energy.
Mm-hmm.
Wasted energy because it lowers your frequency. Wasted energy because it wastes your time, right? You would be way better off to just sit for 5 minutes and send love or meditate on the future state you would like to see instead of arguing with somebody. It's
Mm-hmm.
going to do you more good. It's going to do the world more good. But it's the simple things. It's the simple
Yep.
things that seem so simple that they can't actually be what it is to do. But that's
Mm-hmm.
exactly what it is. It's always
Well,
the simple things.
we've talked about that over and over again in this podcast about how it's those little things. It's the washing your hands or the dishes, the little things. It's the blessing you the water when you use it. It doesn't have to be this big elaborate, ritual or anything else. It's just little things that they're gonna, and again, that moves the needle, you know.
Mhm. Yeah, because there's nothing wrong with us doing our 9 to 5 job. That's what we have to do. That's part of it. There's nothing wrong with us enjoying this world and the things in this world. But are we only doing that, or are we spending a little bit of each day, focusing on our higher self, on our evolvement, on loving more, on being more peaceful, on helping others, serving others.
Hmm.
It doesn't take a lot of time. Again, it could be 5 minutes a day. Some days you may only have 5 minutes to stop and connect and feel gratitude. Other days you may have an hour or two to do things, right? And it's all up to you to choose and to block out the time, if you will, to do it. But even every little thing that we're doing, we can be different in how we're doing it. Like you said, how we're washing the dishes, how we're driving the carpool of girls to softball, or coaching our softball team, or interacting with our clients, right?
Hmm.
Even those things, when done with intention, and with a higher intention, are actually spiritual in nature.
Because everything's spiritual.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Da.
Everything you do. Everything.
Yes. Mhm.
So, but yeah, but like when I said that, I read that post and just kind of really resonated the idea of kind of getting back to some of those things that are a little bit more simple, that don't require technology. Um, like I said, sitting around a campfire, the in-person interactions. Like how often do we just, sort of go by the phone, calling somebody or, texting them as opposed to actually in person sitting there and talking to somebody across a table? Um, but that connection is putting your hand down on the ground on a rock, or a tree. Um, it's such a, it's different. It's just a different energy behind it all.
Yeah, it definitely is.
So,
And it brings more peace in your life.
hmm.
I think
Yep.
I don't know anybody who doesn't say, "Oh, I just want to be happy." Well, if you want to be happy, then be happy.
Hmm.
Just be happy. Be happy doing whatever you're doing. Have peace, have joy, have love in your life, right?
Hmm.
Instead of, scrolling social media, just be love. Just be happy in the
Yeah.
present moment. Sitting there and feeling gratitude for the hummingbird that comes up to my feeder. Uh, Sitting there and watching. I learned a new mouse or a new bird. It's called a titmouse.
Yep.
They have like a little mohawk. I love those
It looks
things.
like a kind of like a blue jay, but a smaller one that's not blue. Yeah.
Smaller, and then it has like the
We've
little
got them
mohawk
here.
on top. Yeah. Well, it's a small bird, but they love to get the sunflower seeds. And then so it'll come down, it'll grab a sunflower seed, it'll go up onto a branch, and it goes tack, 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 right, to crack it open. There's plenty of other seeds that don't have a shell on it, but it brings me so much joy to watch these little titmouse birds, do that and just sit there and say, hey, bird, I see you over there. I've got some food over here. If you'd like to come, it's just fine, right? Or to have two doves just sitting there for 10 or 15 minutes in the bird feeder, just sitting there with me. That's peace. If I feel grateful for it, if I see them again as winged relatives, as no different than me, just in a different role on this earth, express gratitude for them for coming and being with me. Doves bring peace. How do you think I feel when I'm sitting there for 10 or 15 minutes with two doves? And I'm placing awareness and intention on them, and I'm sending them love. Don't you think I feel peace? Don't you think I feel happy, even for those 10 or 15 minutes?
Hmm.
Way better use of my time than scrolling social media.
Hmm.
And it doesn't just benefit me, benefits the doves,
Yep.
but because their vibration is different, my vibration is different, it benefits the whole
Everything
planet,
we come in contact. Yeah.
everything that we come in contact with. So,
Hmm.
anyway,
So your takeaway for today is go out and watch some doves. Send them some love. Maybe throw out some sunflower seeds for the titmice because they like that apparently.
the ones here do.
I'm sure they do here too. I mean, the seeds we have like some sort of a combination, and there are some sunflower seeds I think in there, so I'm sure they probably like those too, particularly. Um, but yeah,
Mhm.
put down the phone, work on, and I don't want to call it reconnecting with nature because we are nature, but for just the ease of use, go out and connect with nature. Go
Mhm.
sit on a tree, on a tree stump or a rock. Put your hand in the dirt. Just do little basic things, and
Pet your dog or cat for 10 minutes,
yeah,
thinking about nothing else, just sitting there, giving
that's
it
right.
love as you're petting it. I mean,
Hmm.
any of these things, just put down your phone, put down your computer, put away the cares of the world and just be in that present moment in whatever way, you want to
Hmm.
do. Brad just gave you a whole bunch of different examples of whatever you want to do, but just make sure you're spending some time every day at least doing that. That'll help it center you. People
Yeah.
talk about wanting to be centered and grounded. That's what it is, folks. Doing these things will help you get centered and grounded,
Hmm.
right? And we all need it when we're spinning out of control and we're on all these other places. And it doesn't take 4 hours a day of doing it, right? But any little thing that you can do, 30 seconds here, 2 minutes there, half an hour there, whatever you can do,
Hmm.
and whatever you can do to be different, and even all the what seem to be mundane things you're doing will bring you that peace, will bring you that love, will bring you that joy, right? Which is ultimately what we all want anyway. And guess what? It's also how we evolve spiritually. Woo, win-win. Win-win. Right?
Hmm. Yeah. So put down your phone.
Put it on your phone, unless you're listening to us on your phone. And then you can
But
put it down in just a second
I was
because
gonna
we're
say we'll wrap it
going to
up.
wrap
So
up
yeah.
wrap it up right now. And yeah, so you got your takeaways. Brad gave you the takeaways for this week. And have a blessed week. And we will see you on the next video.
See you guys.